Apogee's first big seller was called Commander Keen, a game about an 8-year-old genius who makes a spaceship out of household items and saves the planet. The game was created by id Software, which has a special touch for success. It's Wolfenstein, one of the hottest-selling computer games in the world, in which B.J. Blazkowicz storms a Nazi bunker in search of Adolf Hitler. One of the reasons for Wolfenstein's success is texture mapping, a technique for giving surfaces realistic texture.
See the light strobing there in the background? It's behind him now.
Oh, look at that. I never noticed that before. Yeah. That is excellent.
Is there a place there where you can make them fire at you from a long way, that long way across?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right there, though. No, not here. That is so neat. That's got to be in the demo.
In 1991, Hover Tank 1 was released. It was developed by id Software and published by Softdisk. It's a very simple game. Your name is Brick Sledge, and you must rescue innocent people from monsters and mutants. And if you take too long to save all the humans, a nuke will kill everyone. The game takes place during a nuclear war, and you will be teleported away once everyone is saved. It's a simple, fun game, and for the time, it ran pretty well compared to other 3D games. 7 months later, Catacomb 3D was released. In this game, you play as a wizard named Petten Everhale, your mission being to destroy the evil Lich. You enter the town cemetery and fight your way through the catacombs. New to the engine, texture-mapped walls. Obviously, that's not the only thing this game brought to the table, but to keep it short, this game was fun, and Sunsoft even made more games in the series. The engine Catacomb 3D ran on led to very maze-like levels. The team also really liked the original Castle Wolfenstein. In that game, you played as a captured POW. You await interrogation and torture by the dreaded SS in the dungeons of the castle. Your dying cellmate gives you a gun and 10 bullets. Your mission is to find the war plans and escape alive. It's considered one of the first stealth games, and instead of running and gunning your way out, you had to disguise yourself, sneak around guards, and loot bodies for items. The previous 2 games were released on Discmags or Disczines or Magazettes. A magazine on disc. The new game would be released as shareware for DOS. Shareware is kind of like a demo. You get a piece of the game for free, and if you like it, you can choose to buy the rest of the game. This new game was to be a 3D remake of Castle Wolfenstein, but they didn't know if they could use the name. Turned out that Muse Software shut down a couple years back in 1986, and the rights to Castle Wolfenstein were now owned by someone in Michigan. $5,000 later, and issue settled. Wolfenstein 3D released on May 5th, 1992. While the game started out closer to the original, the fast-paced action was found to be the star of the show. You were going to be able to move dead bodies and disguise yourself, but it was just way too much fun to shoot, steal their ammo, and bolt into the next room. Wolfenstein 3D was incredibly popular, and later on got another set of levels that served as a prequel called Spear of Destiny. After Wolfenstein, the next game from id Soft was going to be on another level. Wolfenstein is still pretty limited. It's just on a better version of the same engine that powered Hover Tank and Catacomb 3D. The next game would be a step up. You would need a beefier PC and more RAM. Inspired by their D&D sessions, horror and sci-fi stories, and complete apathy towards having a story, you fucking nerd. I skipped a lot of stuff to get to Doom in that brief explanation. I didn't even mention Commander Keen or the Mario 3 demo for DOS they made. Doom originally released with 3 episodes. After Doom 2 came out, a 4th episode was released, and the full game with all 4 episodes was re-released as The Ultimate Doom. I'll be playing on Ultraviolence and playing through the original 4 episodes. As with any retro game, you should look at the manual, no matter what. There's always going to be some useful information there, whether that's item descriptions or some random friggin' thing you would have never figured out by yourself. But that's what manuals are for. According to the story in the manual, you are a space marine. 3 years earlier, you were transferred to Mars after you beat the shit out of a superior officer for ordering his soldiers to fire upon civilians. On Mars and its 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos, are radioactive waste facilities owned by the Union Aerospace Corporation. You apparently work boring menial tasks up here while the guy that you beat up was sent to Pearl Harbor. For the last 4 years, the military, the UAC's biggest supplier, has used the remote facilities on the moons of Mars for several secret projects, including interdimensional space travel. They were able to get teleporters to send stuff from Deimos and Phobos, but recently they've become unstable. Military volunteers entering have either disappeared or have gone nuts to the point of trying to harm others and ultimately exploding. Matching heads with torsos to send home to folks became a full-time job. A few hours ago, Mars received a garbled message from Phobos. We require immediate military support. Something fraggin'? Evil is coming out of the gateways. Computer systems have gone berserk. The rest was incoherent. Then Deimos just disappeared from the sky, and any attempt at contact has been fruitless. With nobody else for millions of miles, you and your buddies are sent up to Phobos. You were ordered to secure the perimeter of the base while the rest of the team went in. For several hours, your radio picks up the sounds of combat, guns firing, men yelling orders, screams, bones cracking, and finally, silence. It seems your buddies are dead. Tom Hall was originally the creative director and would push for things like Secret Walls and Wolfenstein 3D, and had a whole Doom Bible with multiple characters and other things that ultimately didn't get used. A lot of ideas and levels Tom Hall started were finished and put into the game, so he definitely left his mark. For example, there's these textures. Tanga was supposed to be a moon or planet that episodes 1 and 3 would take place on. Bobby Prince, the composer, also said the Doom Bible was what helped the most with the sound. It provided him with a good starting point. The Doom Bible is an interesting read, but in the end the game was simplified, and Tom Hall would later use some of his ideas in Rise of the Triad after leaving id Software. Maybe one day I'll talk about that game, because after playing through it there were points where the music was the main thing keeping me going. Now for how I'm going about this video, I didn't want to use the newer versions of Doom, but I also didn't want to use any of the usual source ports like GZ Doom or Xandronum. I'm going with Chocolate Doom. Simply put, this is basically Doom on DOS without having to use DOSBox. The music is also OPL. The music everyone is accustomed to hearing is this, Roland SC55. Another option is PC speaker noises, so you can emulate being fucking poor. Anyway, I just wanted to let those not super into Doom know why my gameplay looks and sounds the way it does. I've also had to re-record a couple things, so if I suddenly lose all my ammo, that's why. Alright, let's start. E1M1 is the World 1-1 of first-person shooters. Simple, fun, and instantly recognizable. If you're wondering why the stage names are E number, M number, E stands for episode, and M stands for mission, so episode 1, mission 1. I'm playing on ultraviolence because I think it's the most fun. Difficulty doesn't just mess with a couple health values. You'll find enemies where there previously were none, and even items will appear or disappear. On the easiest and hardest difficulties, ammo pickups are doubled. Now because I'm on ultraviolence, the first enemies I encounter are shotgunners, the stronger, scarier brother to the zombie men. The manual calls these two former humans and former sergeants. Just a few days ago you were probably swapping war stories with one of these guys. That's actually pretty fucking sad. Both are pretty weak health-wise, but understand that there are no enemies in this game that can't fuck you up. Both of these guys don't shoot a projectile. Their shots are hit scan. What this means is that the moment they pull the trigger, the game draws a line, and if there's anything in its way, it's hitting that. This doesn't mean that they can't miss. They aren't perfect shots, but the damage they deal is instant. Zombie men can whittle you down, shotgunners do that even better, and can deal some serious damage if you're close to them. The moment you see them take aim, you have only a fraction of a second to jump behind cover or take them out. Their shots spread 3 ways, unlike your shotgun, which spreads 4 ways, and just one pellet can do anywhere from 3 to 15 damage. Zombie men do the same amount of damage with the single round that they pop. Both are pretty weak and aren't that scary, but begging doesn't work on the undead when you're on your last legs. Now, enemies in Classic Doom won't just shoot you over and over, unless you're on Nightmare. They wander around, and if they can see you, they'll shoot. But just because you're visible doesn't mean that they'll just blast in place. When you are seen, they will usually walk around for a little bit before stopping to attack. When they stop to attack, they lock onto you, even if you get out of their line of sight. For example, if you have a wall you can run behind, you can use this to force an enemy to turn as you get to safety and have their shot hit someone else. The reason you want this to happen is because you can get enemies to fight each other. Now, the important thing to know about that is, 1, an enemy being hit by another is not a guarantee that they'll fight back. And 2, most enemies at the same time cannot hurt each other. Most enemies. Some can hurt each other, and the zombies are one of those exceptions. They will turn around and shoot each other like a fucking Three Stooges bit. Shotgunners don't have much health, and zombie men even less. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk weapons. Your pistol's your weakest gun. Run out of ammo for that and you'll be stuck using your fists. This part of the HUD shows you all of your ammo. Bullets, shotgun shells, rockets, and energy cells. Your pistol uses bullets and has the weird quirk of being 100% accurate if you don't hold down the button. Just wait that extra bit to put the gun back into its neutral state and shoot. Get the rhythm down and you'll be able to shoot 100% shots at a good pace. This is as useful as this gun will get because you'll never go back to it. The shotgun is a lot of people's go-to because of its ability to fuck up enemies in more ways than one. Obviously, it does good damage. It spreads so you can use it on crowds, but it can also stun lock a lot of enemies. Every enemy has a pain chance. Hear this? That shit hurt. When you blast an enemy with the shotgun, every pellet has a chance at making them flinch. For example, if an enemy's pain chance is 50%, every single pellet has a 50-50 roll on making that enemy flinch. What I'm saying is, you can bully motherfuckers with the shotgun. On top of this staircase is armor. But what are these things? This is an armor bonus, or as the manual calls it, spiritual armor. You can pick it up and get 1 point of armor, but if you're at 100% armor, it'll go above 100 up to 200. This is security armor. It's an instant 100% armor and protects against 1/3 of the damage you take. There are also these little blue round bottle flasks. These work exactly like the armor bonus but affect health. When it comes to health items, you have stim packs, which are good for 10% health, and medikits, which give a whole 25%. The manual says that these contain enzymes and antitoxins. There are other items that will keep you healthy, but I'll save those for later. I hope you're taking all the sounds into account. Sound in Doom is really important. For example, that was the sound of a zombie being alerted to your presence. Now check this out. I shot these guys, and yet these two don't react until they see me. Some enemies are deaf. They won't hear the sound of you blasting. Get yourself familiar with every sound an enemy makes. Up here are imps. Imps claw at you when up close and shoot fireballs when far out. Unfortunately, I can't show that right now because I blasted every single one before they could do anything because they looked at me funny and I'm not having that shit. Now check out this section of wall that's colored different. As you play, you learn this visual language and find more and more secrets. It isn't as simple as this all the time, but you'll notice certain highlights. This leads you to this outside area with blue armor. This is combat armor, also known as mega armor, and is better than green armor because instead of taking 1/3 of damage, it takes half. This pool of green stuff is slime or radioactive waste. Just so you know, the way these work is that the surface is set to be a damaging floor. They don't impede your movement, they just hurt to stand in. If you fly by it, you could take 0 damage because you were back on safe ground before damage could be applied. This radioactive stuff is really useful when in barrels because I get to splatter bitches all over the floor. Now before I go through this door, I'm going to go back to this area because walking in here actually lowered that pillar the imps were on. Sounds from enemies is pretty important, but the stage itself also produces sound. You may not have heard the pillar lowering, but you did hear the lift, right? This lift is triggered by walking through here. By the way, if I was on any difficulty lower than ultraviolence, this shotgun right here would be the only one in the level. Wait a minute, how's there an opening up here? That wall's solid, isn't it? This isn't something I'd imagine anyone would care to think about, but that spot up there looks like this. Sticks out, doesn't it? One last thing before I actually leave this stage. There's a button in that first room with the armor that opens up a wall to go through here. It didn't exist in the original release. After completing a stage, you were shown a map of places you've been and where you're going to next. Now that you're familiar with the basics, you get a bigger level. I didn't mention it earlier, but throughout the game you'll see the bodies of fellow Marines on the floor. I guess those are those that just died and didn't become possessed. Hey, you hear that lift noise and those weird growls? Another thing of interest in this area, that wall looks a little different from the rest. This is a backpack. It gives you a little bit of ammo for everything, but better than that, it doubles the capacity of all ammo types. Forget about this button for a second. I've seen a lot of people think they can't grab things that sit on ledges like this, and it isn't because it's too high up, it's because you're probably already above 100 armor. This just gets you to 100 armor. It doesn't stack. Earlier, while clearing out the starting room, I walked by this door with red pillars. This door is locked and requires a red keycard. It's right up here, along with what the switch I hit earlier triggered, the way out here. Out here are a soul sphere and the chain gun. The soul sphere supercharges you with 100 health, up to 200%. To make the most out of it, grab it at 100. You can accidentally waste it if you touch it if you're like at 180. The chain gun uses the same ammo as the pistol and can also take advantage of the perfect aim thing. Only difference is that this thing will always shoot 2 bullets, minimum. I wanted to mention this because nobody does, but you can tell when a lift moves by looking at the map. You see this lift right here? When a floor equalizes with another, it becomes part of it. This lift never comes up to the sledge, so that's why it stays visible. Oh yeah, you have a map. It shows you every place that you've looked at. If you see something that looks incomplete, it might be somewhere you didn't fully explore. To the right of you is this section with a switch that opens up an entire maze in darkness. There are a couple goodies in here. For example, what wall here sticks out? After wandering around in here and hearing two zombies shoot each other, you'll find this area. Nothing of much interest here, but if you were to let a stray bullet hit this wall... Yeah, I think they were expecting you to shoot all around and one of these would have eventually hit the wall. It's not at all obvious, and shooting things to open stuff up isn't very common in Doom. Now, if this were Quake... Now, suppose you didn't find that wall and just continued through the level. You walk by this little alcove, which, when walked into, would lower you into this room. Well, gee, I wonder how you get there. Up through here is the chainsaw. It grabs onto enemies, and because it does constant damage, is pretty useful for stun locking. By the way, are you paying attention? There's a lift that drops you into a room full of enemies, but there's also a hidden wall to the side here. You see it? All that is up here is a couple armor bonuses. Anyway, switch, hallway, last room, done. In this stage, you will meet the demons and specters. Specters are the same as demons, but are somewhat transparent. These guys run at you and bite if they get close enough. Their bite is actually pretty easy to avoid. They also have a pain chance of 70%, meaning you can bully them with the chainsaw. Oh, fucking bitch. After clearing out this room and hitting this button, you open up a hallway that leads you to a yellow key. This one isn't actually necessary to complete the stage, it's for a secret. What that sound is these lowering. You can open this door and there's your soul sphere. The other one leads to an area with a rocket launcher. Rockets do a lot of damage, and even if you miss, the splash can fuck shit up. I also completely forgot to show this one off because I only recently found this secret a couple months back, so I went back and re-recorded this. These dead guys scattered throughout makes me wonder if they just sat down at one point and bled out somewhere they thought was safe. Hey, you want another area you gotta figure out how to get into?
Oh yeah, what up, baby?
Remember that pain chance is just that, a chance. Even with a chainsaw in its face, this fucker was able to land a bite on me. Blue key, lights out, ambush, fuck you. Here's something interesting. If you were to fall into this pit, they put a button here to get you back up. While the button is down here, the game doesn't care. It's a line on a map, given a function, meaning I just need to be able to hit U's on the wall. Back to that blue door. Oh yeah, there's a bridge here now. Get you bastards out of my face. Excuse me, dick! Up the staircase is the end, but before I do that... In here is a chainsaw if you need one, but past this is some goodies. A soul sphere, blue armor, and a blur artifact, but everyone calls it what the game says when you pick it up. Partial invisibility. Partial invisibility doesn't sound very useful. Why be only a little invisible? Well, what it does is make enemy shots wildly inaccurate. You see these imps? You can see how useful this can be, but what makes it so good for beginners is what makes it so bad for skilled players, because you're so used to dodging that you just end up running into the damn thing. I'm not completing this level the normal way. I'm going to that bridge that was actually raised by the switch in the secret with the rocket launcher. This is where those zombies were, but because I already took them all out, all there is to fight in here is some imps and a demon in this little monster closet. Out through here is the exit to the secret level, military base. This level is probably the least interesting stage in episode 1. I say that because it looks like this. It's not bad, it's just the use of textures makes this level look really simple. I won't go over this stage a whole lot because there isn't much to talk about besides the supplies near the end, but I will mention this thing. Enemies can use teleporters, and you've already alerted several of them, but they're not here yet. The reason is that they're actually waiting to be let out. Going for the rocket launcher opens up a door for them, and you can hear it. In the last room you can find a wall that leads to this, where you can hop around to get some supplies. You can't jump into them, so you have to run off. You're actually a little faster if you move diagonally. In the corner of one of the main rooms, you can find this little area with a chain gun if you need one. I guess the worst of the stage is this. That door is triggered by walking over the edge of this, and then you gotta get this asshole blocking you from up here. After that, that's the end. Next up, command control. First of all, wall racism. Why are you different? Pick a path, any path. While these nerds fight each other, I'm gonna blast these guys up here. Nice shot, dumbass. Come on. One thing to watch out for is these lifts that trigger when you walk onto them that don't lower. If you fall off this, you can't get back up. Anyway, imps are incapable of whiffing an up-close scratch because if they start a swipe and you back up, they'll throw a fireball every time. After a small fight for the blue key, you'll come across a claustrophobic maze full of imps and demons. If you get lost, you can always pull up the map to get a look at where you've been and where you haven't. I have a certain way I go through the levels. You don't have to go in the same order I do, but you'll pretty much always need to grab the keys to proceed. If you explored earlier, you would have seen this room, but have no way to get across from here to here. I could leave right now, but there's a very interesting shape on the floor. It's a nut swastika. In the original release, this actually was a hooked cross to reference Wolf 3D, but it got changed. Earlier in the stage was this area with a rocket launcher, but at the very start, I'm sure you saw this big-ass blue ball up there. This is how you get to it, but the catch is that this is one of those lifts that does not come down. So you hit the switch and run into the lift, and bada bing bada. Next up is Phobo Slabs. I hope you like pools of green. This level is very explosion friendly. After killing I don't know how much, you'll find that there is nowhere to go. There is, but you need to walk onto here, and suddenly more floor. Okay, cool. What's with the barrels? A yellow key, more goobers. Why are you brown? Now here's an example of a limitation with Doom. Most things have infinite height. If I try to walk off the side of a cliff and there's a barrel, a tree, an enemy, another player right there, I'm not able to because there's something in the way. In modern Source Sports, you can make it so this doesn't happen, and you can walk over and stand on this stuff. Worst thing about this is that if an enemy with a melee attack is blocking you, they can still get you. But honestly, I don't really care because you know what else has infinite height? Rocket explosions. I fucking love rockets in this game. Oh yeah, if a corpse lands under a door and the door closes on it, it gets smushed. This doesn't happen much, but it's pretty funny when it does. The floor beneath him leaves, making him get stuck. Pick a side. This area is symmetrical, and either way will make the same shit happen. Once you walk off the steps, 2 monster closets will open behind you on both sides. These 2 pillars are lowered once you step onto this platform, revealing more enemies. Stepping onto either of them makes them rise up, allowing you to get some ammo and another blue armor. There's a secret here. Behind this wall is a radiation suit. Then a chainsaw. Then you can go outside and get a soul sphere. When you walked in earlier, you probably heard the sound of a lift. This one here has a secret area with a partial invisibility, and this is a teleporter. But I won't go through it. Oh fuck, I didn't hit the button. Okay, now I can blast the other fuckers in the room I couldn't see earlier. More blasting, but in the dark now. But this isn't the darkest this level gets. Here's a blue key. This final area is dark, but if you hug the wall to your left, you'll find this little spot with light amplification goggles. Now you can see what you're blasting. If I walked past the pentagram earlier, then I'd have seen this door, which lets me walk into the final area with the partial invisibility. By the way, that teleporter just takes you here. You want to see the most useless secret? That was the secret. There's nothing there. It's just a wall for easy access to the last door. Fuck out of here. I'm out. Central processing. Right when you start, there's a good pool of enemies right in front of you. There's a shotgun to your left in the corner, and a couple goodies scattered around the starting room. To the left is a dead end because you need a red key, which you'll find going the other way. Once you walk into this room, the wall behind you will come down and trap you with a couple enemies. The red key sits at the far back. The moment you grab it, the walls will open, revealing more imps, zombies, and demons. Use those barrels, and if you want, use the rocket launcher. Just don't blow yourself the fuck up. I like to be a cunt in here and go full American. Oh, fuck off. On the way back to the red doors, you may spy this little spot in the wall. I always blast a rocket in here because there's some imps and barrels in here, so fuck those guys. Now here's something I normally care about, but this episode never really gets that difficult for me, so I don't care. But this is something you should definitely take into account. I have less than 100% armor when I walk in here. This green armor would bring me up to 100, so I should get it, right? It's not that simple. The last armor I picked up was a blue one. You know, the one that brings me up to 200 and eats half the damage my health would normally take. If I took damage right now, it would still be under the effects of the blue armor. If I pick up this green one, it would swap that out. This isn't the worst thing ever, but it is something to think about. As you approach the blue key, some demons pop up, but I don't give a shit. Right in front of you is an opening. If you'd like to walk around here with minimum damage, there's a radiation suit to the right behind here. Bonus armors, a soul sphere, then to get out a blue armor, more bonuses, a partial invisibility, light amplification goggles, and 2 boxes of rockets. Clear out this room and every door requires a yellow key, so fuck this. Walking through here lowers the pillar that those imps were on and reveals more rocket bait. I'm not getting these goodies yet. I got these little tunnels to go through. Ooh, a switch. That opens this wall here. And here's where the yellow key lies. Grabbing it opens up a wall in that hall you just walked by. You can't see it from this side, but this wall is actually locked and requires a blue key. In here is a rocket launcher, a partial invisibility, and a backpack. There was a path in the green toxic gunk you probably saw from the side earlier, and now imps are walking out of there. I'm gonna go back to that tunnely area because I walked by this little pool of armor bonuses in the shape of an arrow pointing at a wall that doesn't match the rest of the wall. Behind that is a computer area map. This shows you the full map. Areas you haven't seen are marked gray. You can use this to reveal secrets. Because I'm fucking dumb, I never grabbed the damn radiation suit that was right next to me. To continue through, you have to hit this switch on top of the staircase. There's some items behind the pillars in the toxic pools. The switch opened this. Going in there locks you in. If you want to wander around, you can find where all those yellow doors led to earlier. Alright, let's go. I like to clear out this room and leave the barrels intact. For some reason, I didn't record the ending fight, so I played through the entire level all over again to show it off properly. This is probably a bit dangerous, but whatever. And that's it. There's the exit. Next up, computer station. We're in the shit now. You should find this area eventually. Fuck. Up here is the yellow key guarded by 2 shotgunners, so fuck those guys. Oh shit. Out this window is a shitload of shotgunners, and every time you walk by, you could get popped. If you take a lift up here... Oh, you fucker! I love this part. The main path is to the right. Directly ahead is a little area with some monsters. If you stand on the pillar that lowered, it'll start going back up. You can use this to walk off the sides. Over this side, some goodies. On the other, a computer area map. And here's a switch that I always hit and forget what the fuck it does. A mega armor in this pillar, and finally the soul sphere you probably saw earlier out this window. That button lowered a wall over here, and you can get a chainsaw if you need it. Anytime you can shoot at enemies out a window, you probably should just take them out if you can. At the end of this path is the red key, and looky here, the door goes to, and the next key. Getting the key opens up a couple monster closets. Getting the next key does it again. This closet has a secret. Try not to get blasted too much out here. The partial invisibility is always pretty useful against hit scanners. Back on track, the blue door has one last challenge, a door that requires a switch to be open. Not hard, might have been a bit more difficult, but I nuked a ton of enemies up here already. And now we get to the final level of this episode, Phobos Anomaly. The final level of Knee Deep in the Dead feels different from the rest of the episode. What does the music know that I don't? Right across from you is a lift that brings you up to a computer area map, not even hidden. With the map, or if you just pay attention, you can find this soul sphere in the wall. A couple demons guard a shotgun to the left and a chainsaw to the right. At the end of this hallway is a lift and the first boss fight. These are Barons of Hell. These two are the Bruiser Brothers. The encounter is supposed to be like the Hammer Bros from Super Mario Bros. Around the arena are a couple useful items and a bunch of specters that can trap you. They're actually kind of hard to see here, at least on Chocolate Doom. Barons scratch up close and throw green energy, or maybe green fireballs. These fireballs do harsh damage, but this guy landing a claw has potential to fuck your shit up hard. After enough damage, they'll go down along with these walls. If you care for some reason, there's a switch in here that lowers the lift so you can go back to the starting areas. The main thing of interest here is this. A staircase. The thing I've been holding back on that I want to talk about is the music, which I didn't really mention until the last stage of this episode. Doom's music was composed and then each track was placed in levels by John Romero. Everybody knows what inspired the soundtrack. The more interesting thing is that Bobby Prince said that for inspiration, John Romero gave him tapes with what he called Tony Martin-era Black Sabbath to serve as rough guides for what they wanted in the game. Bobby originally thought Doom should have some ambient, atmospheric stuff. A lot of the rock and metal did make it in, but it's not all just metal. There's some good atmospheric tracks here too. The placement of each track is something I've never seen anyone ever talk about. At Doom's Gate famously plays on the first stage, and it gets you pumped up. It's exciting. Next stage, you get the Imp song. Not as lively, but still has a cool thing going on. Dark Halls feels subdued. The first two stages get you wanting to blast things, but then E1 M3 has this playing. After this you could go to the next level or the secret level. Either way, you get something lively. Kitchen Ace and Taking Names plays in E1 M4. E1 M9 has Hiding the Secrets. Both sound like you're trying to keep your spirits up. Suspense drags that back down. It's serious. It's not having fun like before. Next is On the Hunt, a track that I always felt sounded like it was breathing heavy, if that makes any sense. The beginning just holds this tone, like a deer in headlights, before finally breaking out into this panic shit. It's one of my favorite Doom songs. Demons on the Prey plays on the penultimate level, and tell me this doesn't demand your attention. Some real Doomsday shit. It's as if you've been hit with the reality that the closest thing at all similar to you is the dead guys on the floor wearing the same helmet. The final level has Sign of Evil as its track. Out of all the music in the first episode, this one just sticks out. It's just somber, almost as if it knows something you don't. I get the mental image of a ghost watching someone walk into certain death. The end of Doom plays during the last message at the end of every episode. Internally, it's called D_Victor. You got the short end of the stick.